Chapter 4 of Racing the Wind from the Dolphin Diaries. Brittany yanked her hand out of the water, still screaming. With a sickening lurch of her stomach, Jody saw the bright red blood dripping from Brittany's hand. "There's a first aid kit just under your seat," Leon told Craig. Gina moved quickly to take care of Brittany. "Let me see, sweetie. And please, stop screaming. That doesn't help," she added gently but firmly. Brittany gulped and burst into noisy sobs. "It's only a little cut. You haven't lost a finger," Gina reassured her. "In fact, you won't even need stitches. Thank goodness. Craig, could you pass me a bandage? And some antiseptic?" They all watched, wide-eyed and silent, as Gina dealt swiftly and efficiently with Brittany's wound. In a few moments, the injured finger was neatly bound in gauze and tape. Brittany had stopped crying, but now she was shivering. "I feel awful," she moaned. "Maybe I caught something, rabies or some other horrible disease." "It's the shock, honey," Gina told her. She put an arm around Brittany and hugged her, then looked over at Jody. "Sweetheart, could you find a soft drink for Brittany?" Jody nodded and made her way to the cooler, where she found a bottle of Coke. "Did she really get bitten by a piranha?" Jimmy asked Leon in an awed voice. "Maybe," Leon told him, "but there are other fish with teeth that aren't flesh eaters. Mostly they feed on fruit, seeds, and berries that fall into the water. One of them might have mistaken Brittany's finger for something good to eat." "Oh, I hate this place," Brittany moaned. "I wish I'd never come." "Please don't judge it so quickly," said Leon. "You've had a bad experience. It is true there are dangers here, but there are also many wonders in the river. Wait and see." Brittany huddled against Gina for comfort. She looked unconvinced. November 7th, continued. "Well, so much for my dream of swimming with the bottos. The thought of all those biting fish makes my skin crawl. It's too dangerous to go into the water, so we'll have to do all our dolphin watching from the boat. If they ever show themselves, that is." I asked Leon if piranhas were a danger to the bottos. He said bottos usually eat piranhas along with about 50 other species of fish. But if a botto is wounded, it could be in trouble. The blood will attract piranhas, which will swim up in a big group and start nibbling. If the dolphin is too weak to escape, they can eat him alive. Yuck. Jody looked up from her diary when she heard Leon say, "We'll stop here for the night." He switched off the engine. A moment later, with a soft, jolting movement, the boat ran aground. Leon leaped over the side and reached out to help Gina come ashore. "Where are we staying?" Brittany asked as she followed Gina out of the boat. Jody was wondering the same thing. She could see nothing but forest as she gazed around. There was no sign of any building or even a road that might lead to one. "Here," Leon replied with a gesture at the trees. "We'll put up the hammocks." Sean and Jimmy gave excited cheers. "Oh boy, we get to camp out." Jody thought it sounded like fun too. She glanced at Brittany, meaning to trade a smile, but she saw that the other girl had gone very still. Dr. Taylor also looked unhappy. "Dear me. I'm not very good at roughing it," he exclaimed nervously. "Nobody warned me." "There's no other option, I'm afraid," Leon said, looking apologetic. "The research station is still a day's journey away, and the nearest village is nearly that far. Luckily, we should have a dry night, and hammocks are much better for sleeping than the hard seats on the boat." "Absolutely," Craig said firmly. "We're going to have a great time. Now, we better get our camp set up before dark. Leon, tell us, what do you want us to do?" "The first thing is to get everything out of the boat and put up the hammocks," Leon said, leading the way. Jody was eager to help, but she hung back. Brittany looked pale and frightened, and it wasn't like her to be so quiet. When she was unhappy about something, she usually made sure everyone knew it. "What's wrong?" Jody asked quietly. Brittany turned unhappy blue eyes on her. "Aren't you scared to spend the night in this jungle?" Jody shook her head. "No, Leon's done it loads of times. He'll tell us if there's anything dangerous. We'll just have to do what he says." "But he doesn't even have a gun," Brittany protested. "What if we get attacked by a jaguar?" Craig, coming past with an armload of supplies, overheard this. He stopped. "We'd have to be pretty lucky to spot a jaguar," he said with a friendly grin. "Lucky?" Brittany stared at him in disbelief. "They're killers." Craig shook his head. "Jaguars don't attack people," he said. "In fact, they keep well out of our way. Too many of them have been killed for their fur. People are a much greater danger to them than they are to us. And I think they know it." "Well, okay," said Brittany with a grudging nod. "But what about snakes?" "We have poisonous snakes in Florida," Craig reminded her. "Given half a chance, most snakes will keep out of your way. They're not usually aggressive. Just be sensible, same as you would if you were camping out at home." With that, he walked on. Brittany, gazing after him, didn't look completely convinced. But she didn't look so frightened now either, Jody thought. "Have you ever been camping before?" she asked curiously. Brittany nodded. "A couple of times with Daddy. Once he took me to the Everglades," she paused. "It was fun," she admitted, seeming surprised by the memory. Then she looked wistful. "I wish my dad was here now." Jody patted her on the back. "Yeah, but you'll have some great stories to tell him when we get back. Come on, let's go help set up camp." "Now we have to catch our dinner," Jimmy announced, as Craig and Leon finished building a small cooking fire down the sandbank. "Oh, there's no need for that," Gina said. "We've brought plenty of food with us." The twins looked disappointed. "But we wanted to fish," Sean exclaimed. "Why not?" said Leon. "I can tell you which ones are good to eat." He glanced around. "Anyone else want to come?" "I'll stay and tend the fire," Gina offered. She gave Craig a teasing punch on the arm. "Go on. I know you're dying to go fishing." "She knows me too well," laughed Craig. "I'd love to try my luck on the Orinoco. How about you, Jody?" At home, Jody sometimes went fishing with her father and brothers, but she shook her head. "I'd rather watch for dolphins." She glanced at Leon. "You said they're most active at dusk." He nodded. "How about you, Brittany?" The other girl quickly shook her head. "No thanks. I'll stay with Aunt Gina." "Dr. Taylor?" Leon turned to him. The portly scientist shook his head. "I've never seen the appeal of fishing. I'd rather find a quiet spot and watch for birds." "Okay," said Leon. "Keep that fire burning. With any luck, we'll be back with some treats very soon." Gina grinned. "I'll keep my trusty can opener handy, just in case." As her dad and brothers trooped off with Leon, Jody dug out her diary and pen from her bag and set off in the opposite direction along the bank of the river. "Don't go far," Gina said warningly. "It'll be dark soon, and it would be very easy to get lost." "Don't worry," Jody replied. "I'll follow the river. Give me a whistle when you want me back." Jody walked through the rainforest, being careful to keep the river in view on her right-hand side. It was slow going. Vines, creepers, tree roots, and bushes all grew together in a lush tangle. She had to be careful where she put her feet. After a few minutes, she was relieved to spot a fallen tree. It made a natural bench for her to perch on and gave her a good, clear view of the river. She settled down to watch. Without the constant droning noise of the boat's engine, the gentler sounds of the river and the rainforest could finally be heard. There was the sound of the water lapping at the shore, bird calls from the trees behind her, and a steady chirping which she thought might be tree frogs. A rustle in the leaves at her feet made her look down. Jody glimpsed a bright green head with two bright golden eyes. She caught her breath. It was some sort of large lizard. With a swish of its tail, it darted forward and vanished into the undergrowth. A loud, eerie cry made her look up, but she couldn't see anything moving in the dark green canopy of leaves. Another eerie cry came from the forest behind her. Heart pounding, Jody twisted her head around, but again she could see nothing. All of a sudden she felt nervous. She was very aware of being alone. Daylight was rapidly fading. The sun had vanished behind the trees. and the sky above the dark river had taken on a rosy glow. Maybe it was time to head back. Then she heard a new sound, a soft, gentle sigh, which seemed to come from the river. She heard it again, and as she leaned forward, peering intently, she saw the water ripple. Something broke to the surface. It was large and sleek, a gently curved shape that was the same rosy pink color as the evening sky. A bottle? With a whooshing sound, it slipped back beneath the water and vanished. Jody waited, holding her breath, staring until she thought her eyes would drop out. But the dolphin, if that's what it had been, did not appear again. Yes, it probably was a bottle, Leon told her later when she described what she had seen. I often hear them but don't see them. It's no wonder they have such magical reputation, the way they appear and disappear so suddenly. When Jody arrived back at camp, the twins were proudly showing off their catch. 6 fish, and only 2 of them the same kind. Leon had caught another 4, and Craig had two, the biggest of the bunch. That's amazing, Gina exclaimed. You were gone barely half an hour. I've known you boys to go out fishing all day and come back with nothing. That's the Orinoco for you, said Leon, smiling. And at this time of the year, with the river low, the fish are especially hungry. That makes them easy to catch, since they'll bite anything that looks good to eat. Like a finger, Jimmy said. He pointed out one of the largest fish. Look at the teeth on that one, Brittany. It might be the same kind that bit you. Now you can have your revenge by eating it, Leon said with a teasing smile, as he and Craig gutted and cleaned the fish to prepare them for cooking. Brittany shuddered. No, thanks. Darkness fell swiftly. They all gathered more closely around the campfire as the fish cooked. Leon told them about the work of the research station, which he helped to establish 3 years earlier. You know, it's surprising how little is still known about the botto, he said. Are they an endangered species, like the river dolphins in other parts of the world? Gina asked. Jody was relieved to see Leon shake his head, but her heart sank when he added, not officially listed as endangered, but their numbers are low, and it's probably only a matter of time. He went on to explain. The botto's habitat is changing. Trees are being cut down to create more land for farming. Dams are being built to provide hydroelectric power. Many fish species are dying out, sometimes because of overfishing, Leon sighed. The bottos will find it harder to live. Already they are in competition with the local fishermen. Or at least that's how the fishermen see it. The dolphins have learned to steal fish from nets, and, in doing so, sometimes tear them. Of course, the nets cost money, and many fishermen can barely make a living as it is. So they are furious at the bottos for destroying their nets and may try to kill them. But the bottos don't tear the nets deliberately, do they? Asked Jody. No, they're simply trying to reach the fish, Leon agreed. But there's another problem with the nets. Usually dolphins are very good at detecting dangers underwater and staying out of the way. But sometimes fishermen will set their nets in such a way that the dolphins can't detect them so well, or set them in a narrow, shallow channel so that in the dry season, especially, the botto can't avoid them. They're trapped before they know it. What happens then? Jody asked anxiously. Well, sometimes they manage to escape, ripping the net with their teeth to get out. At other times, they can't get loose, and if they're trapped below the water, they drown, Leon replied. Jody caught her breath. But things may be getting better, Leon went on, at least around here. Since we set up the research center, we've been working with the local people, talking to them about ways of catching fish without endangering the dolphins. It sounds like you're doing good work, said Gina. We're trying, Leon replied. I'm sure there's a way for people and dolphins to live together in harmony. But it will only happen if the people who live here agree it is important. What do you think? Are these fish about done? asked Craig, prodding with one long fork. One with a long fork. The smell rising from the grilling fish was delicious. Jody felt her mouth watering. I think so, said Leon, smiling. Let's dig in. Jody woke to a faint crawling sensation on her skin. When she opened her eyes, it was too dark to see anything. She felt disoriented. Where was she? This wasn't her bunk on the board Dolphin Dreamer. Then in a rush, it all came back to her. She was in a hammock, camping out in the rainforest on the bank of the Orinoco River, and the crawling sensation was ants! With a yell, Jody sat bolt upright, causing her hammock to rock wildly. She began brushing at her arms and legs, sending the ants flying. Hey, what's the matter? Craig's voice, sleepy and alarmed, sounded close at hand. He was in the hammock next to Jody's. Then he, too, gave a yell. A light flared. Gina sat up in her hammock on the other side of Craig's, holding a flashlight. Her black hair was a tangled cloud around her startled face. What's going on? She demanded. Ants, Craig shouted. They're everywhere. Another flashlight shone. It was Leon, on the ground and fully dressed, even wearing his boots. He came closer, directing the light at Craig. Oh, they're only the little ones, he said calmly. They won't hurt you. I'm not going to give them the chance, Craig declared, slapping at himself. Shine the light over here, Jody begged. I can't see. On her other side, Brittany sat up. What's wrong? She asked sleepily. Ants, Jody informed her. She shuddered. Although she couldn't see any more of them, she seemed to feel them still running all over her. Would you look at my back and see if there are any there? She asked Brittany. I don't want to get them on me, Brittany objected, shrinking back. I'll do it, Sean said. He swung out of the hammock he shared with his brother and hurried over to Jody's, his own miniature flashlight ready. After a brief inspection, he announced, Nope, I can't see any. There are loads crawling up this tree, though, right above your head. Jody shuddered again. She wished she could have a shower so she could be sure the ants really were all gone. However, the only place to bathe was a river teeming with biting fish. She'd just have to put up with the lingering itching sensation. Craig sighed. So Jody and I had the bad luck to sling our hammocks on the local ant superhighway. Well, I guess we better move them. There's no point, said Leon. Since we're all awake, I suggest we pack up and get back on the river as soon as possible. But it's in the middle of the night, Gina objected. Leon grinned. It's 4:00 in the morning, he corrected her. The day starts early in the tropics. It's a good idea to miss the worst heat of the day, he explained. Dr. Taylor isn't awake yet, Jimmy announced. Want me to wake him up? No, honey, Gina said quickly. Your dad will do that. Craig rolled his eyes. Thanks a lot. You're welcome, darling. She smiled sweetly. Soon they were back on the river again. Jody was glad. She felt far too wide awake now to go back to sleep. Only Dr. Taylor kept yawning and grumbling about the lack of coffee. Jody noticed her mother was checking her camera by one of the dim lights on board. Isn't it kind of dark to be taking pictures? She asked curiously. Gina smiled at her. I want to be ready as soon as the sun comes up, in case we glimpse some of these mysterious batos. Sean and Jimmy, both excited to be on a nighttime river cruise, were shining their flashlights out into the darkness. Suddenly, one of the boys gave a yell. What is it, son? Asked Craig. Spooky eyes. Look, Jimmy replied, directing the beam onto the dark water. Millions of them, added Sean. Jody caught her breath. Not millions, as her brother said, but at least a dozen pair of amber eyes glowed unblinkingly from the water's edge. She shivered. They were spooky. What are they? She asked. Caimans, Leon told them. Really big ones, too, said Sean. I bet they'd try to eat us if we fell in the water. They might, Leon agreed. They're certainly not the kind you should try to play with. Before long, Tanina moved into deeper water and out of the range of the evil-looking eyes. Jody felt herself growing sleepy, lulled by the steady movement of the boat. No one spoke. Even the twins were quiet. Brittany, slumped beside her, seemed to have nodded off. Then a loud, donkey-like braying sound echoed across the water, startling them all awake. What was that? Gina gasped. Sounded like a donkey in trouble, Craig said. That, unless I'm very much mistaken, was a horned screamer, said Dr. Taylor, sounding excited. He fumbled in his bag for his binoculars. It's an enormous bird, usually seen perched on top of bushes or trees along the waterside. Oh, I would love to spot one. Luckily, there is some light. After he spoke, Jody realized that the darkness wasn't as deep as before. A thin gray light revealed the dark outline of trees and bushes along the shore, and it was getting lighter by the minute. It was hard to be sure above the drone of the engine, but Jody thought she heard a gentle, soft sighing sound nearby. She leaned over the side of the boat and saw the water ripple as something slipped beneath the surface. I think I saw a bottle, she said urgently, trying to follow the movement in the water. Gina moved to her side, camera at the ready. Where? She said. Jody pointed. It was there, but it's gone now. Maybe it will come up again. Suddenly the engine stopped. Silence descended. The boat rocked gently. What's wrong? Dr. Taylor asked in alarm. Nothing at all, Leon told him in a reassuring voice. I've just stopped to give Gina a chance to take some pictures when the botos come up for air. Dawn and dusk are the best times of day when the botos are most active. Maybe they'll pop up to take a look at us. We'd miss them if we kept going. Jody thought of her days at sea and how much fun the bottlenose and Atlantic-spotted dolphins had seemed to have racing Dolphin Dreamer. Don't the bottles like to swim alongside moving boats? She asked Leon. He shook his head. Bottles aren't speedy creatures like the dolphins you are used to, he explained. They generally swim at a rate of only 2 or 3 miles an hour. They couldn't keep up with a motorboat, not even a slow one like this. There's one, Gina gasped. Then she sighed, lowering her camera. Gone again. I saw something. I think it was a tail, Jimmy announced. There, exclaimed Dr. Taylor. They all looked at him and saw that he had his binoculars focused on the shore. My first green ibis, he announced triumphantly. That's nice, Dr. Taylor, said Craig tactfully, but it would be helpful if we could all concentrate on the water instead of the air or the shore. After all, we're here to study the botos, not birds. The portly scientist looked embarrassed. Yes, of course. I'm so sorry. I'll concentrate my attention on the water from now on. He began to fiddle with the settings on his binoculars. Jody heard the now familiar sighing sound from the water right beside her. She turned to look. The dark water rippled. Then a pink, rounded head with a long, thin snout appeared, rising smoothly, straight up out of the water. Jody held her breath with excitement. The pink dolphin looked directly at her with bright, intelligent eyes. It was so close that if she had put her hand, she could have touched it. Jody heard the click of her mother's camera. Then, as swiftly and quietly as it had appeared, the bottle dropped down in the water again, vanishing without even a splash. Wow, I'm glad I got that one on film, Gina exclaimed. She turned to Leon. It was a siphopping? Oceanic dolphins do it all the time. But I didn't think siphopping was a bottle behavior. Oh, they rise up like that when there's something on the surface they want to get a look at, Leon told her, smiling broadly. I get the feeling he is as curious about you as you are about him. He may have recognized the boat and wondered who was on board today. With a whoosh of breath, the dolphin surged up again. This time they saw only the curve of his back, with its low dorsal ridge before he vanished, leaving behind a spray of fine mist. There's one on this side, Dr. Taylor called excitedly. Jody caught only a glimpse of a flipper before it was gone again. For the next 10 minutes, as the sun rose higher, the bottles played Catch Me If You Can around the boat. They swam back and forth beneath the dark brown river, surfacing for a few seconds with a sighing breath of air before disappearing again. Oh, this is maddening, Gina groaned. The light is perfect, the bottles are here, but they're such teases. I can't even tell how many there are. You'd think they didn't want their pictures taken, she joked. Should we move on then, Leon suggested. We still have a long way to go. I think so, said Craig. As Gina nodded her agreement, Leon started up the engine. Jody leaned over the side, gazing wistfully after the elusive Bottos. November 8. Late morning. Orinoco River. Botto, Latin name. Bottos are so gorgeous, but they're so hard to get a good look at that it's no wonder some people think they are magical, shape-changing animals. I'm really looking forward to getting to the research station. Leon says we'll be there by late afternoon, so there should be enough time before dark to go out and watch the Bottos who live nearby. We haven't seen any more Bottos on our journey today. I guess they're keeping cool out of the heat of the day. It's getting hotter by the minute. Jody leaned over the side of the boat, trying to make the most of the little breeze. We're almost home, Leon announced. We should be at the research station in half an hour or so. Thank goodness, Brittany muttered. I thought we'd never get off this boat. Yes, we're all looking forward to it, Gina said quickly. How many people are based at the station? 2 other researchers beside me, Leon replied. Others come and go throughout the year, but at the moment there's no one else, so there's plenty of space for all of you. And more than one shower, I hope. Craig mopped his brow with a handkerchief as he spoke. Leon laughed. Ensuite bathrooms come as standard in our luxurious residence, he said, making them all laugh. Hey, look, there's somebody waving at us. On the shore, Jimmy announced. Over there, look. Jody followed her little brother's pointing finger. She saw a boy of about her own age waving his arm wildly and shouting. Leon shaded his eyes against the sun. Why, that looks like Juan. He's a local boy who often comes around to help out at the station. I don't think he's just waving, Gina said, frowning. He seems upset. Leon turned the boat and headed it toward the riverbank. As they came closer, they could hear the boy was shouting, Ayúdame, por favor? Spanish wasn't Jody's greatest subject, but even she understood what that meant. The boy was shouting, Help me, please. We'll stop here before I start Chapter 5.